irrespective of what the challenges are, keep your head high, stay focused, and don't allow any distraction to take you away from whatever things that you've planned to achieve today. The interesting thing is that sometimes we don't realize that the today that we dream of actually started yesterday.
Absolutely.
And then the tomorrow we're hoping for starts today. So there is a nexus between yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And so if you don't realize that, time just keeps flying away, and when you look back, you don't see anything that you've achieved. The same thing with today. The morning cascades into the afternoon, and then the afternoon into the evening. Of course, you know that in the night, you rest. You can't do work at night. But there are some work you can actually do at night. All right? But it all boils down to having a plan. That's one. Then two, staying focused to those plans. I can tell you for sure that the politicians are focused on their plans, their aspirations, their expectations, and all that they want to achieve for 2019. It's already happening at the National Assembly. But now, with the APC, PDP defections in the National Assembly, a major issue now is what some have referred to as the supremacy battle. All right? You remember that in recent time, what's been trending following the defection is that the Senate President should resign. After the 14 or 15 senators moved from the ruling APC to the PDP, and I think the ADC, as it were, the PDP claim being higher in the number of senators in the National Assembly. The APC, on the other hand, also claimed to have the majority in the National Assembly. But just to let you know that there are 109 senators in the Senate, and that number reduced to 107 after the death of 2 senators. So you have 107 senators. With the defections from APC to PDP, 14 APC senators to PDP, that changed the chemistry, changed the nomenclature, changed the numbers in the National Assembly. But one thing that has been at the front burner is a call for the Senate President to resign. But you remember that immediately after the defection took place, the Senate President announced recess for the senators, and they're expected to reconvene by September. But that also is another very thorny issue. We'll look at all of that on our discussion segment on the program TMI. Joining us now, I have with me in the studio a member of the Action Democratic Party, ADP, a chieftain of the ADP, Honorable Pius Salila. Many thanks for joining us.
Mr. Okoso, good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you join us.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while. Okay. I also have with us in the studio a social commentator, a political analyst, Christian Osegali. Christian, many thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's my pleasure.
Well, shortly we have Barrister Daniel Ogbegie join this discussion. Of course, you know, is also a member of the People's Democratic Party. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the show. Let's start from the major talking point in the country right now. But just to let you know that it's important that we are civil in our language, and we do not call names, and we do not cast aspersion on anyone, whether in the studio here or outside the studio here. Let's be as objective as we can for the benefit of our viewers out there, so they can have maximum benefit from our conversation. And let's try and control our emotions so that we can have meaningful conversation, communication, and discussion. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for joining us. Let me start with you, Pastor Lila. Of course, you've not been around, but that is not to say you have been at sea as was happening back home. But these defections, some say, is characteristic of our political process. In every election year, this usually will happen. But the question is, must we always have these defections? Must we always have these defections, as it were?
Well, basically, for me, is all about the most important thing in all this discourse is all about first of all, the welfare of the people. If you look at these defections here and there, one thing appears to be lacking is the welfare of the people. The issue of governance is being eroded at the moment. So those in power, those in authority are concentrating on politicking. They are moving from one party to another. Well, for me, you change party does not change who you are. So if you like, you change party 100 times, you are who you are. Pius Alile is who I am. So if you are a politician, or one or two persons will give you power before, thinking that if you move from one party to another, then that will increase your electoral fortunes or increase your electoral chances. I don't think that will be the case. So what we need to understand is we shouldn't allow the political maneuvering of the people to compromise the welfare of the people. Nobody is talking about governance anymore. Nobody is talking about the welfare of the people anymore. The dividend of democracy, nobody is talking about it anymore. You see, so that I think that is the main issue. The national level, they are not. Nobody is talking about how to. So and the economy is biting hard on the people. We have general insecurity here. We have all manner of problems across the country. So that is my own take on this. You are free to defect. The Constitution allows it. I am very, very careful when people take action. You have to look at the constitutional requirement, the statutory permission. That should be our focus. It is not lawlessness to defect. It is part of political maneuvering. They are all looking at ways on how to enhance their chances of victory. And honestly speaking, if a political party is not fair, it's not equitable in its disposition, there is no justice. Then there is bound to be this kind of thing that you are saying. Nobody will tolerate injustice. Yes, some people will do, but in this, when people move, you need to listen to why they are moving. And I want to tell you one thing. The campaign or defection, I want to say that there has been issues within the party. You know, it was just a matter of time. And people now take decisions. People take decisions before few months or few weeks to the election. But there has been issues. Some of these issues have been left unresolved for so many years. You understand? A lot of people have been crying, complaining over exclusion. This government have not been building. I want to be very, very mindful of my language. In terms of inclusive government, you have to build inclusive government. We know that it is difficult to carry everybody along, but there are ways you meet people at their own different needs. So when there is segregation within the party, there is bound to be reactions. Okay. And the time for that reaction will be determined by the victims, you see, and that is what is happening now. Okay. They believe that it will hit the party hard if prior to elections they begin to take actions. And that is this is just the beginning. You've not seen anything yet. Okay. So it's going to come. You can see that even at the state level, the level of defection is not as serious as that of the federal level. Yes, at the state level, you begin to see that when gubernatorial election comes in some states, you will see a few months to election, you will see a lot of people, because people are complaining of exclusion. Okay. So these are some of the things. Yes, there are selfish reasons to it. Yeah. Oh, everybody is selfish, honestly. So nobody will come and tell me that himself is not selfish. Everybody is selfish. Politicians are also selfish as well. But however, the way politics is played generally can also make people to begin to take certain decisions. So we need to look at it holistically. Okay. So that will be able to give us a certain level of appreciation as to why people are moving.
All right. Let me pause it there for a second. I'd like to come to Christian just to acknowledge the presence of Barrister Daniel Ogbege. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Thank you for coming. Christian, this has become a norm in our politics. But the greatest concern for most analysts, economists, is that when at this point in time in our country, it looks like governance has been completely abandoned. And I remember on Road to 2019 on Friday, our discussion centered on the flip side of this defection, which is that we're not hearing that people are defecting because the education system is bad. We're not hearing that people are defecting because the roads are bad. We're not hearing that. Okay, so what do you make of all of this happening just now?
Well, if we understand the political history of Nigeria, you understand that it has always been the phenomenon. The paramount language then used to be cross-carpeting, and now they are saying defection. You know, the Constitution was mindful of the characters and the nomenclature of the National Assembly. That was why, if you look at the issue of defection, that of National Assembly is streamlined, and that of State House of Assembly. There must be reason for you to defect. But the problem I have, like my brother was saying, there is no cohesion, they are not carrying people along. I don't understand the language. When, for me, when you think that because you are a godfather or a councillor or a National Assembly, that you may be carried along, that is the political injustice. Unless you carry even the voters along, you have not started. Okay. And the best way to carry the voters along is to make the amenities available. Because if you tie neatly this Benin to Lagos road neatly, you have carried everybody along. Like the people, somebody from the southeast was making commentary the day before yesterday. He said, anytime you go to that area where they are constructing this second Niger bridge, he is happy because he now sees that things are going on there. That, according to him, it has reached about 53% progress. So the people in that vicinity, and those of us that will certainly make use of that bridge, we are carried along. So politicians have a way of using the language to put us in perpetual penury, so that they can continue to dictate for us, and we are keen as a citizen. That is the problem I have. They have a system. If it's affecting them, they begin to sing the slogan of tribe. If the tribal slogan is not getting results, they move to religion. Yes, if it's not gaining results, they move to exclusion. Since I supported you, I have been excluded. You discover that the leader that you say have been excluded has just one single vote, but myself and others that are in the street have one vote. So why is your own more important than everybody? So the truth of the matter is that the welfare of the citizens have been on holiday since the inception of politics, especially since 1999. I am emphatic about 1999 because initially some of us actually entered the streets to fight against military administration. Because we then conclude that they were our problem, only to just discover that our problem are even the politicians. At least, if you go through Nigeria, any infrastructure that is existing today were those are put in place by the military. Any viable one that is in existence, talk of all the NAPC that the politicians have killed, they are put in place by military. So, I am not comfortable with the way the politicians have knocked us to the corner. And the painful aspect is that those of us, the voters, who is actually supposed to be the godfather of this system of politics, have become the whipping dog. That is the pain I have. Unless we change our mindset and tell the politician, hold on, if you say you are being excluded, what of myself? Okay. What of my constituency? There is no street in my village, to my house. There is nothing to, in fact, there is no government present in my community. It simply means that the politicians have a meeting point where they gang up to enslave the citizenry. And to solve that problem, the Constitution was careful to make sure that such thing never happened. That is why you have the National Assembly, the councillors, the local government chairmen, the governors, the House of Assembly members who are representative of each constituency. You have the National Assembly members, the House of Reps, the senators, and finally the president. If you look at the genealogy of all this network, you discover that the Constitution never envisaged that the ordinary man must suffer. Because if you lose the value of these dividends of human enhancement from the councillor level, you will not lose it at the constituency level of the House of Assembly members.
Okay.
If you miss it there, you must not miss it at the chairman level. If you miss it there, you must not miss it at the governor level. Okay. And if you miss it at the governor level, you must not miss it at the House of Representative level. And if you miss it there, you must not miss it at the Senate level. And eventually you miss it there, you must not miss it at the presidential level. But you see that all these people, they have a system of aggrandizing to themselves this common patrimony of the people, and they tell you that they are Lord and Temporal. And the problem, like I said earlier, is us. Okay. That we are dealing with these people.
That's the electorate now.
Yes, the electorate. Okay. We must understand that they are the commander-in-chief. They decide who should govern them, at what time and when.
Let me push it, Christian said, and beg Ambassador Daniel begin in. What reasons can you advance for the defections that has started? Has started because I know more are about to take place. There's been some rumor around former governor of Akwa Ibom State. There's also some speculation around some about 10 commissioners in Edo State. It's just increasing by the day. So what can we adduce for all of these defections?
First of all, it is a trite for us to understand that people have right to freedom of association. But that right to freedom of association must be constitutional. Yes. Now, for members of the legislature, there are laid down procedures for them to change political parties. The Constitution is very specific in saying that it is only when there is a fashion or there are fashions in their political party. And that fashion must be at the national level. So the political party that sponsored them to the house must be fashionalized. So for me, for those who defected, in quotes, from the ruling APC to the PDP, I can say that they have legitimate reasons to do that because there have been a fashion in that party. Some persons came out to say no, they didn't agree with the convention that brought the chairman of the APC, and they formed their own political party and they call it ROAPC. So for them, that is a legitimate reason. ROAPC, they have a chairman, Engineer Buba Galadima, they have a public secretary, you know, our friend here, you know, and all of that. They have an ESCO. So that means it is fashionalized. But for me, I do not quite understand why, you know, the minority leader of the Senate, you know, the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, that we hear rumors everywhere. We see pictures of his meetings with the integrity president of Nigeria in London, that he's going to decamp to the APC because currently the PDP is not fashionalized. There's no other national chairman of the PDP, or there are no set of people that...
Maybe it's anticipatory. Yeah, but you never can tell with politicians.
You cannot anticipate. Yes. It must be present. The fashion must be present. It must be contemporaneous with what you want to do in movie. It is as a result of the fashionalization that you want to, you know, change base from one party to the other. So for me, I think that governance has been completely abandoned, and what we do is just politicking. A lot of people who supported the current president, they thought that, oh, this man will be a bit different. But he has shown that he's also a politician and he's playing politics. We hear, if we are going to believe what we read on social media, what we read in the newspapers, that APC is being used to harass Godswill Akpabio, that if he defects to the ruling party, they will suspend the investigation
or prosecution.
Yeah, because I'm glad you said these are things you heard, which you have not confirmed.
We don't know.
Yeah, they are all speculations.
They are still within the realm of speculation.
Speculations, yes.
But you know, in every speculation, you might have element of truth in them. So for me, I think that that is completely a wrong way to go. You know, institutions of state should not be used in ways that will malign people. Institutions of state should be fair to all. You will not say, oh, because you are in this party, we are going to investigate and prosecute you, but if you change to this party, then we will not do that to you. That is unfair on the people, that is unfair on the country. Having said that, I want to also say that it is getting more and more interesting, because in maybe 2003, you know, the political parties at that time, the two major political parties, you know, there was a bit of unfair structure, unfair weight. The PDP was a behemoth, you know, and the other party was not as strong. At that time, Buhari will contest election and win in maybe 6 northern states or 7 northern states, so he will not even get 10%, you know, around the country. But today, we have two major political parties that are very strong. It is supposed to help the system. It's supposed to help the country. It's supposed to put those in government in check that, oh, if we do not perform, then there is this party that is breathing down our neck that will likely take over from us. But my problem now is that instead of focusing on governance to be able to impress the people so the people will vote for them, what is happening is that the ruling party is finding a way of infiltrating and hijacking institutions of state, public institutions. For instance, ANEC, for instance, the police, for instance, EFCC. In a situation where you have public institutions becoming PRO agents of the ruling party, then we have a highly decadent society on our hands. So why not allow public institutions to act as unbiased umpires? Why not allow the police to do their job? Why will it be that it is when the governor of Benue State, Otto, decided to decamp to the opposition party? That is when the police will know that, oh, your boys were the ones killing people, not the Fulani herdsmen. Oh, EFCC will say, oh, there's 20 billion naira that you misappropriated at some point. And this is a governor that has immunity against prosecution, and you are coming with all of that. For me, it makes some of us sick. Not because of the eternal opposition that we have against the current president, Buhari, but because for us, what is fair is fair. And what is wrong is wrong. So if our society must move forward, we must allow public institutions to be unbiased. We must allow public institutions to focus on building the society. Because if they don't, if they take sides, there's a problem on our hands. There will be conflagration that we might not be able to curtail.
Okay, let me pause you there for a moment.
Let politicians play politics. But let the police, let the EFCC, let the ANEC focus on their constitutional roles in the society.
Okay, I'm sure you also agree with me that for some people, these institutions of governance are following their constitutional roles just to ensure that things are in place. But let me come to Salile.
Mr. Okosun, let me address two issues here. In any society where you have operators of government, institutions of government, you have them, they are so powerful. The society, the citizens cannot even speak. They cannot challenge those institutions. They cannot even enforce their rights. What I see in this country is a very dangerous place to live in, because the institutions of the state.
But yet you live in the country.
Yes, I haven't got any choice. This way I was born.
So
this way I was born. So that's just a fact. It's a very dangerous country because all the institutions that we have, they've been compromised. The citizens cannot enforce their rights. The citizens are docile because the institutions are not operators of government. This is the only country in the world where I see people saying, after God is government. After God is government. You see, that shows the level of enlightenment and the level of mentality we have concerning public service and public life. Like, recently, let me give you an example. Recently, I was traveling to London. In Lagos, I was delayed for about 48 hours. Air France delayed me for 48 hours. I was very happy. You understand? Because I know that when you deprive me of any right, when I get to Europe, I enforce it. Very, very easy. And I get compensation. So whenever my right is being trampled upon in Europe, I'm so happy because I've made so much money enforcing my right over there. They put me and my wife in a hotel for 48 hours, a very cozy, very nice hotel. I enjoyed myself. But immediately I got to London, I wrote a petition. I said, look, this is it. This is what you did. This is what I did. I came now. I didn't pay for tickets. I didn't pay. They gave me my. That is how citizens enforce their right. They treat you. They treat you like a human being. The dignity of average Nigerian has been so debased to the extent that we don't even reason anymore. You understand? I agree with my colleague here very clearly that the institutions of states, the operators of government, everything here have been compromised. Complete police. Look at what happened in Ekiti, using the state apparatus to rig election.
You were there. You were there at the election. Partially, were you there, or you heard from reports? So how do you now substantiate? How do you substantiate these issues? If you were not there to see these things yourself, you rely on your arguments or your statements based on what you heard or reports.
Let me tell you, Mr. Okosun.
Yeah.
You see, when I'm in Europe, I get 24 hours electricity. You don't get here. And I get information. Even what happened in Billy, I get it. I know before you.
So electricity breaks information.
Let me also address the issue of politicians talking about people. In this place, when you say that people should be carried along, it's as if you are asking the government to share money. No, I was once in government. Yes. You carry people along. You didn't get there yourself. So what do I mean? There must be an open door policy. A situation where you are elected and you tell people to go away. Yes. It's not like that now. That's not how politics is played. But that is not how politics is played. I was a councillor here. People come to me regularly, discuss. You talk to them. Are you able to solve all their issues? No. You are not able to solve their issues. But that regular communication must be there between you, the electorate, the people, your party. That regular communication must be there. You are not, it's not an independent candidate. People elected you there. And people work for you. Yes. They canvass for you. You understand? When you're talking about electorate, people canvass who you are to the electorate. There are middlemen. I am contesting the election now. People are working for me day and night. You understand? Let's look at political reality when we talk. There are realities. And the reality is that when you win an election, nobody says you should go and share money. But people are saying that you must give them some sense of belonging. You must identify with
that sense of belonging. Sharing money.
I told you just about. I told you just about regular communication.
Okay.
Listen, I told you something about regular communication.
Okay.
Now, look, only just talking to people. Yes. Just addressing their issues has a lot. Look, and if you are a public officer, you don't have an open door policy, then there is a problem. There's a problem. This is the only place I see public officers, once they get into office, they put themselves in one level. That when you get to them, you fill papers, you fill documents, it takes 3 months for you to see the governor of a state. It's not done. You can't even see him. Mayor of London, if you want to see him, it's 5 minutes. Go there, it's open door policy. You might not be able to solve your problem, but you will write a letter and say, look, this man is from this place, he has some problem. He has gone to the local authority for this, and they are refusing him. They are refusing to attend to his needs. He can write a letter for you to, and give it to his aide to take to the local authority chairman or chairlady, as the case may be. You understand? Okay. There are things you can do for the people. So because here, what you hear all the time is money, 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 and that is the slogan of APC: money, 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 money. Oh, when people protest that they are not being carried along, instead of you to call them and address their issue, you organize a counter protest. Yes. That is irresponsibility. Yes. That is irresponsibility. So these are the things. These are the things that we. You've
addressed the 2 issues
these are the 2
I'll come back to you in a moment. I'll come back to you. You've been shaking your head or nodding your head. I don't know which is which now, Christian. So those sign language, what are they for?
You know, the joy I have is that
yes.
my brother is a politician. Like he said, he has been in the office.
Yes.
If we want to take a step forward, I will ask him the particular council he presided over as a council.
It's a local government.
Now, when we go to
I'm the one doing all the questions.
No, I'm not asking questions.
Just go ahead.
In fact, further, we could have gone to that same local government. We discovered that there is a comprehensive disconnection. Now, if we are blaming this administration now of all this evil, then that means somebody laid the foundation that we're talking about. Like I said earlier,
yeah.
Before 2019, sir, all of us had a unanimous decision that our collective problem was the military. So we believe that when civilians come,
things will change.
Things will change.
And things really haven't changed
Somebody
much.
came in 1999, like somebody, Clark said this man came into office with 20,000 in his account. The man has never disputed that fact today, but today is the richest former president in the whole of Africa. Now,
that's subjective.
It is. No, I said
I just let it go because he didn't mention any names. I don't know
so the issue is this.
Yeah.
If since 1999, then there was a comprehensive strategy to move Nigeria out of poverty, we will not be where we are today. So the failures that politicians, like my politician here, are talking about started, I don't want to talk about before 1999.
Okay, I want to ask you a question. Sorry, I just asked you a question now. Now, if we keep referring to 1999, those years gone by, there's no way we can bring those years back. There's no way we can have those years back now. What is wrong with setting a precedent now? What is wrong with that?
That is
yes.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like I said just now, I talk of Second Niger Bridge. A precedent has been set there.
Okay.
I only passed through that place. Somebody he said I visit there frequently. He's happy that something is changing because that thing started about 16 years ago. You understand? After 1999 election, the musicians sing Nigeria Jaga Jaga. So if Nigeria was good, then nobody would not sing Nigeria Jaga Jaga. Now when you move from here, sir, to Lagos Road, you see construction going on.
Okay.
I just watched the other day, people from Delta State were happy for sea trade for the first time. That is something is going on. Because I know when Abacha was laying that track of trade, I went to the Biaga that time, when I saw this locomotive tractor carrying workers. Remember the years Abacha government left that place, when they were laying that tractor that crossed through Biaga.
Okay.
Now that thing go through to Abuja. Now, for about 32 years, this government is saying that that project is before this year runs out, they will complete it. Now that is telling that something is changing. For me, we must start from somewhere. It's not about saying the police we are talking about. And then go and take their profile. There's no police that will have a say now that was employed into the service about 3 years ago. You see them as recruits. So the ones that have been there, most of them are senior officers now were recruits about, they were junior in 1999, I mean they have officers now. You see that obviously we are saying hover around the same people. So politicians have a way of putting problem for us to be solving so that they begin to look us and think it's easy. Now, if you look at the challenges that we talk about today, we talk about insecurity. Yeah. The question was aware that Nigeria is so big and the police we have cannot even cover the whole nation. That was why we have in security architecture that we call proactive and reactive approach. The proactive is what the country take care of by making security vote available to governors, even the local government chairman. So in the community, if I am a House of Assembly member and I have a constituency, and anything happen in my constitution, I'm not aware, or a council, anything happen in my constitution, I'm not fit to be a councillor or a House of Assembly member. Because that is why if you look, there's a particular ward in Oredo, for example, I know I have 30 units in a ward. Now, if it is true that governors, for example, take about up to, like some people have alleged, about 500 million as security votes. For example, sir, if you now have some kind of neighborhood watch in all the units, I'm telling you, there's no unit that you cannot pay at least 4 to oversee the affairs of that unit. Yeah. So, That is the proactive. That is what the constitutional envisage. Then the reactive is when in that unit, those four could not get the information before crime
is committed.
Yeah. You now navigate to the proactive when you invite the police. So police come in and begin to solve the problem.
Okay.
It's not about blaming the system when we know that some of us have become so financially big. I know a governor said the last time I went to Kwara State, I weep. But I know a governor that came from that state that said he is richer than that state. So you see, there are certain things we see as a people. People still cry for him.
Okay.
The other day, we talk of defect. They were talking of defection.
Yes.
So the constitution was clear, like I said earlier, on what you must attain before you defect from the National Assembly or the state of.
Yes. I think that's section 52, right?
Yes, the division.
It's about leadership in the Senate.
Yes, it's about leadership.
Okay, yes, go on.
The division that the constitution envisaged in that drama is that the division must cut across a board. How can you not tell me that before you decamp, you arrange somebody to go and make press interview that I am now APC, you say that is decamp. And the same Senate president, all the people that decamp now, they were in the convention of that same party. Few weeks later you decamp, you say that is division across board. Yeah. But for me, whether everybody move from APC to PDP does not make any difference because all of them have a common phenomenon of looting the treasury and popularizing the people. That was what happened in Kwara State, sir. That I say, if you go to Kwara State, I come to say it. Just
you know, there's no evidence.
I just think it's 100% better. Yes,
let's stay on course. There is no evidence to back up these claims that you're making, and they can't be substantiated.
The evidence like National Assembly. Let's look at the salary they take, for example. Look at the budget they take, for example. Look at the constitutional project that they take, for example. Where is the impact to the people?
The budget that you talked about is provided for by the Constitution.
Fine, now the constitutional project that they use this money for. Where is it today? Where is it today? How is it benefiting from it? I understand. I can lecture you on it. I can lecture you on it.
Can we be focused? Can we be focused so we can get this right with our conversation? All right. I want us to look at the defections at the National Assembly because more defections are taking place. More definitely will take place. But just now, the call is for the Senate President to resign. I'd like to get your thoughts on that one.
You know, when I read that the fashioner chairman of the APC, Adam Shomole, said that...
I like us to play down names because those people are not here right now. Whatever you say about them, they're not here right now. Yeah, just go on.
I have the floor now. You have the floor before. Yeah. Now, the fashioner chairman of the APC, Adam Shomole, when I read that, he said that Saraki, if he had any honor, that he should resign. That their crown, should return their crown. Whose crown? The crown belongs to the people. The people that elected Saraki as president of the Senate and chairman of the National Assembly are members of the National Assembly. They are the senators. They are the only ones that have the power to also remove him. And in removing him, it must be by 2/3 majority of members of the Senate. So will the APC be able to muster 2/3 majority of the Senate to remove Saraki? That remains to be seen. Because I don't think so. Because even the APC doesn't even have a clear-cut majority. But even leave it at that, we already said that a lot of people are going to decamp either here or there. But what is more important is for us to follow constitutionalism. We hear or we read that the APC are mobilizing to storm the National Assembly before the September 25th, that is the National Assembly, that the Senate is supposed to reconvene. That again can only be done in a banana republic. This is supposed to be a constitutional democracy where law is properly followed. Now the Senate has gone on vacation to reconvene in September 25th. Who has the power to, declare a session of the Senate open? It is the Senate President. So if you want to remove him, then you wait till they reconvene, then you try and muster 35% of the members of the Senate to remove him. It is not by him resigning, because the same people who are saying Saraki should resign today, in 2014, When Aminu Tambuwa, the then Speaker of the House of Rep, decamped from the PDP to the APC, they were praising him. The other time, you know, I read on Facebook the things that Buhari said. And he praised Tambuwa for taking that bold step to leave the PDP for the APC. And Tambuwa did not resign his seat. He did not resign his position as Speaker. Because at that time, the PDP could not muster the required percentage, you know, to remove him. And the government at that time, being a government that respected the rule of law and the Constitution, allowed it. And Tambuwa finished his term as Speaker of the House of Rep. But these same people, I am surprised, I am shocked that they are not canvassing that Saraki should resign.
Well, efforts were made to remove Tambuwa. Remember the case of National Assembly members climbing over the fence or trying to lock the host.
They locked him. The National House to climb the gate.
Please, I have to follow, sir.
Yes.
Now, the members of the House of Representatives, let me quickly address this. The other time, he called me a politician. I'm a politician. Member of the PDP. He also a politician. A member of the APC. So I don't know why he's masking, you know, who he is. I'm not a member of the APC. I'm not proud of who you are, sir. For now,
it's all right. Listen, let's focus on the issue.
So to focus on this issue, they do not have the right to call on him to resign. Even if they call him to resign, it is just an empty call.
Okay. Let me pause you there.
Senators can remove.
Let me pause you there.
By 65% of the senators.
All right. You've been following the events as it relates to.
I want to say that when you make flippant statements and castigate and stereotype the whole politicians, you make mistakes.
Yes.
You make. I think my colleague here is making mistakes in his analysis.
No, he's entitled to his opinion.
Yes, I'm only trying to address him. You don't stereotype.
Okay.
You don't make flippant statements. And I want to say very clearly that the call for the Senate President to resign is a lawless call. Very lawless. The Constitution is clear. Section 52 is very clear. The Senate President and his deputy, the House of Rep Speaker and his deputy can only be removed by 2/3. A resolution supported by 2/3 of the entire members of the House of Senate or House of Rep, as the case may be. So you cannot just, you are aware of that constitutional requirement and you are saying openly that such a person should resign. It's as me coming here now to tell President Buhari to resign when he has the constitutional to contest. Whether he has performed or not, that is a different matter. But the fact is that I cannot come here and say, oh, President Buhari should not contest the election, when the Constitution says that he can. So let's be mindful of our statutory position before we make public statements, especially when you are a public officer, a national chairman of a party. Before you come out to say this person should resign, you must have gone to read the Constitution. I thought you have legal advisors within the party that advises you on what to say and not what to say. You must confine yourself to consider. Otherwise, you are leading what you are saying, that the entire society should be lawless. That's what you are saying. When the government come out to say things that are contrary to constitutional requirement, it's a dangerous. You are setting a very. The government and operators of government must uphold the Constitution. They must defend it. It is their primary responsibility. Before you can challenge me as a citizen of a country to obey Constitution, to obey laws, you are supposed to be obeying. So you must. So when they are making, I heard. A senator, you said we shouldn't mention him, a senator from Delta State, I don't want to mention his name, was saying yesterday that, Saraki likes it or not, that he must vacate that position. Can you just imagine? I said, what kind of... Absolutely.
You heard it. Did you see it?
You saw
it on paper.
Yes, I don't want to mention it. It was there. He said it's a must. He said, everything is being militarized. It's not that way. We must look at the constitutional position of everything. And that is my position. As far as I'm concerned, the Senate President or the Speaker of the House, nobody can remove them, except the party come together and gather that to third majority. Yes. It's as simple as that. Secondly, let me also address the issue of from 1999. If you have been following trend, you have been following development, I served under Honorable Eri Dago in a local government. We were one of the best.
This is not a contest between you and Christian and Sarah. It's a contest.
You understand? If you live in Edo State, you should understand the policy of Edo State.
Okay.
Now, you know, when some people talk like an activist, when you don't understand the rudiment, the rigors, and the practicality of politics, then you begin to, it's as if you are divorced from the reality. You understand? So the point we are making here is that we must speak facts and we must speak evidence. When there are position of the law, you obey. There is no, we are all product of the Constitution. The president that is sitting there is a product of the Constitution. So when I see all this kind of lawlessness, I am afraid.
Okay, let me proceed. Christian, you have you concur with what they said, particularly on the calls for the Senate President to resign.
For me, concurring is an aberration. It's an aberration because, yes, I love to participate politically and I want to join a party.
Ignore
but if I want to join a party, I'm already making move to join one that I feel can move the Nigeria forward. When I will call you, I will let you know. But before now, whether we like it or not, sir, you see, Saraki or no Saraki, I said, you see, if, like now he came on board, but I don't know, I'm not comfortable with the statement that APC chairman Oshomole is a fashioner chairman. Let me tell you, I think this is a national program and I don't want that, like,
so are you saying that, hold on, just a moment, gentlemen, are you saying that the APC is not factionalized?
APC is not factionalized at all.
Who is Buba Galadima?
I'm in charge here.
If I decide now to come to a press media and say I'm now the APC, does it make any sense? I don't apply to be registered.
Can you just...
They have not even had the courage, sir, to approach INEC for registration. So they all was just a kind of a concussion.
They don't have to register.
Okay, let me learn. It was just a
factionalized duty Barrister Daniel Obegia.
Can you comport yourself? He has the floor now.
You can't compare the factionalization of PDP with that of APC.
PDP.
We are close.
Barrister Daniel Obegia, can you comport yourself, please?
We should not have short memory, sir.
Yes.
A PDP then formed a new PDP in their national convention. And from it was in their national convention that they decided, they announced that they were leaving. And they left and formed their parties in all states.
They voted for
the
national convention. They left.
They have conducted their own convention.
Okay. Now,
we are aware of that.
But
like we are saying now, this so-called reform APC have not had the courage to even approach INEC for registration. Okay. And the purpose of even going to media. Register. Okay, this is not the best thing.
I'll have to end this interview if you don't stop this interruption. No, if you don't stop this interruption, I have to end this interview. No, you have to end this interruption. You have to. This is part of the problem that we have in this country.
Yeah.
And that part of the problem is that we say so and so person did it, so I must do it. Hold on, just hold on. Let me address this. Hold on. Because so somebody, two wrongs can never make a wrong, and that's why we get it wrong in this country. We say PDP did it, APC will have to do it. APC did it, PDP will have to do it. So where is the difference going to come? Where are we going to get it right by different way of doing things, by different way of thinking? It's never going to happen. So can you just comport yourself? Can you comport yourself now? Yeah, Christian, can you go on?
Duke, I want to plead with you because, like I said, most of us, at times when I do my thesis, I take some part of commentary I get on media, and I approach some media to get a backup, which is reference. I think I will not be comfortable if I'm supervising a student now, and in 2018, August 7th, he told me he released into a report from ITV that national chairman of the Pacopa was factionalized.
Hold on. Let's not even go on that plank because whatever thoughts that you express now, they are personal to you. All right? And then, hold on. The Constitution is clear on that. If you were making reference to what the Constitution says and then juxtaposing it with what you're saying now, I'm sure our viewers will appreciate it more. The question that I asked you, which I would like you to respond to, is what do you make of the calls on the Senate President to resign? Can we stay on course on that one, Christian?
Good.
Okay.
For me, I think for the Senate President to resign, whether he remained there as Senate President or resign, like I said, it does not make any difference. The reason is that he has a record, he has set a record that for the first time in the history of Nigeria, he presided over a Senate that passed a national budget after about 7 months or 8 months. And for me, he has not been of benefit since he became the Senate President, of benefit to the party that are in charge now in any way. If you look at, they just passed the budget, I mentioned they passed in 7 months. NBA budgets are still there. They have not passed one. So, and the year you are in August, yeah. They are resuming in September. And in the following month, they will start going for primaries. So, whether you remain there or not, but one thing is clear. We have not seen the true picture of the defection yet. Let them resume. They will not know who is who. But I want to tell you that Nigerians, that this politicians have been fooling over time, are becoming more wiser. And the politicians, good enough, they know. That is why they have made the citizenry, the electorate, they now coin stomach infrastructure. They only have every language to put in place so that and that is why they now can find a way of sharing the money to voters, because they now know the voters are important. And the voters too, they are beginning to be very wise, because on that day, even the days that I keep the camp to APC, I'm aware that the state chairman of the same PDP that he decamped to said over his dead body cannot work with this kind of person. He decamped with most of all his executive to the other party. I
saw a report, that was on Friday, where the state chairman of the party and the executive did a press conference and thanking Saraki for joining them and all of that. So I'm trying to put that so that we can put this, what you just said, into proper perspective. If the chairman said he cannot work with this man, the same chairman came on television to say, you know, he appreciates his government. So how do we
I said the chairman said he cannot work. I read some things even in the paper.
Okay.
He said he cannot work with this person.
Okay.
Once he comes in, he will pull out.
Okay.
Now he has come in. Like I said, we are looking. Before even the 15 defected from APC to PDP, there were things that wanted to defect to APC that the Senate President did not announce.
Okay.
Now we are just hearing that the leader of the PDP,
minority
leader of the PDP in the Senate want to defect.
Yeah.
Like I said, more will come, because at the end of the day, what are they looking for? They are reading the game to find where to meet their self-interest.
How to favor them.
How to favor them. That is their golden rule. And at the end of the day, who favor them must not favor the citizenry.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it is the same citizenry that will suffer it. Like we have been suffering that this National Assembly came on board. But I thank God that Nigerians are wiser.
Right.
More people are now registered to vote. But when they resume on the 26th of September, a lot of people will quiet.
All right, Pastor Bige.
Yes, you know, I have a little problem with people who say they are activists and they hide.
Let's not get on that plank. The thoughts that you know, I said
it's politician.
Yes.
When I just graduated and I used to talk about politics, people would call me politician. I used to be very angry because I thought that word was derogatory. But, you know, over time, since I particularly joined the political party, I'm happy to be called a politician, because politicians are statesmen, and there are people who are very concerned about the society. They've been able to put their heart in the ring. You know, not armchair critics who sit on the armchair and just criticize. So beyond criticism, which I was doing before, we are now more involved, you know, in the politics of the country, because politics is the only process that take people to government, and government controls everything in a third world country, you know, such as we have here. So we all must be involved in politics, and of course, we are involved in politics, whether you deny it or not. Imagine somebody saying that people have been suffering since the National Assembly came aboard. The National Assembly is not the executive. The executive is the one that executes, that execute projects that will directly impact on the people, that carry out policies that will directly impact on the people. And I will say, without any fear of contradiction, that since about 3 years and some months of this government, this country has never had it so bad. The only time that we were this poor in this country, the only time that there was this kind of economic doldrums, the only time that people were disillusioned, this dissolution in this country was also in 1984 and 1985. And guess who was head of state at that time?
But those conjunctures really don't add up, because one, you're not backing it up with the economic realities on the ground. Yes. You're not backing it up with the economic realities on the ground.
Andrew not check out. Andrew checking out. People going out of this country en masse was in 1984. The first time
when it was military of state. Today is a civilian president. So the environments are different. The environment is different. Yes.
Today we could talk. If it was in 1984, I'll be afraid because some people will be waiting for me outside the gate to pick me up. But today I can talk boldly because this is a democracy. And of course, to a large extent, we can, as much as possible, try to enforce the rule of law. So in 1984, we had many medical doctors leaving the shores of this country, going to Saudi Arabia, going to other countries to practice medicine. Today, do you know the number of medical doctors that have left this country in the last 2 years? Going to Canada, going to the UK, going to the US, going to India, and all such other countries. The same thing is happening.
The searching for dinner.
No, yes, somebody, sir, coming here to blame the National Assembly for the economic malaise, for the insecurity that we have in this country, for the agenda of the Fulani Husband to completely take over the entire country, hegemonic agenda, and you bring the National Assembly. When the National Assembly is not the executive, and we have a president who is an executive president who will formulate policy. What do you expect from the Duke of Koso when a president of a country goes outside the country to demarcate the country, to say my people are corrupt, my people are useless, my people are lazy, my youth are lazy? What do you expect? Do you expect foreign direct investment in that kind of country? Before 2015, sir, Nigeria was being well spoken of. Of course, things were not 100%, but we're moving towards a direction that CNN, other IMF, they were good ratings for Nigeria. Nigeria was declared as the 10th fastest growing economy in the world. I'm not sure the government at that time went to brag then. Nigeria was declared as the biggest economy in Africa. I'm not sure the government went to brag then. Do you know what these ratings can do for the psychology of Nigerians? They will propel us. They will energize us. But when we have a president that constantly says that we are lazy, that we are useless, that we are corrupt, what are you going to have? You're going to be seeing it in your mind. Oh, I'm useless. Oh, I'm lazy. Oh, I'm corrupt. I can amount to nothing. A president has set up the machinery of state, for instance, in this case, the EFCC, to constantly go to harvest members for his political party. For the EFCC to go and...
So how many has the EFCC harvested for his political party? There's no basis for us to make this superior statement that cannot be substantiated.
Exactly.
I said this at the beginning. Okay. We can't make superior statement that can't be substantiated.
I'm not able to substantiate.
Yes. If you cannot substantiate this, how do we take picture or say with a pinch of salt? That's what it means.
The point I'm making is clear. For me, and I've said this several times, I am first of all Edo before I'm in Nigeria. Because I was born Edo. I was not born in Nigeria. I was forced to become a Nigerian. Of course I like Nigeria. But of course I love Edo much more. So what will affect Edo will first of all affect me. So my point is, I will focus on what is good for Edo.
Okay.
And we all must look inward to focus on what is good for our people. Currently, sir,
let me push that. Let me push it back. Then I'll come back to you in a moment. Pastor Lila, yes. What is the role of the citizens in all of these discussions and debates, particularly as it relates to the defections that we're seeing? Yeah.
Let me tell you, in civilized countries, the government is responsible for the well-being and the welfare of the people. We don't have a framework of how we manage our citizens. In any advanced country, they have social security system. When people talk about stomach infrastructure, it's because there is no social security system in place for the people. There is no institutionalized framework for it. There is no statutory framework for it. So if you are sick, you are on your own. You understand? If you live here now, you get an accident, you are on your own. If you lose your job now, you are on your own. Your children, if you don't have money to pay their school fees, you are on your own. What kind of a society is this? No. People are just existing by default, by error in this country. You understand what I'm saying? I don't understand what you're saying. You will understand. You will understand. When I just pray that you don't fall ill. I don't pray you don't get an accident. A lot of people are incapacitated. They are incapacitated. Whether they had an accident, no money to take care of themselves. They go to hospital, no money to buy drugs. You understand what I mean? There is no free medical health care for the people. We don't have community health centers that caters for the health needs of the people. What are we talking about? There is no social security system. There are no housing benefits. There is no child care benefit. I'm talking to you as somebody that is benefiting from this kind of system. These are backed up by law. The funds are made available every year for this purpose. And that is why there is so much poverty in the land. Because there is no benchmark for poverty. The government here cannot say, oh, look, at this level of life, at this particular standard of life that you are living below certain standard of life. We must intervene. You understand? So what I am saying is that the government must be responsive to the well-being of the people. All these things are all lacking in this country. So when people are talking about stomach infrastructure, they are all function and product of hunger, product of starvation, product of a society that is not functioning. You understand? Because you cannot go to a place like England and give somebody money to vote for you. It's not possible. Who? In fact, they will take you to court. Because you can't do that. And nobody will even accept the money from you. Because at the end of the day, that basic minimum livelihood has been guaranteed by the government. Yes. That is what I'm saying. Okay. That this society that we are living in is a dangerous place to live in. I am telling you the truth. Because there is threat to life in this country. There is threat to life. There is threat to life. The people are just living. That's why you see people just drop dead. Yes. Why would they not drop dead? Somebody that does not even know his health status. Somebody that has not been to the health center. He has not been to hospital for checkup over the last 20 years. Why would he not?
I think we need to put the problem. When you say this society is the dangerous place to live in, I think that's justified it. Yes, you haven't justified it. Because go around now, you go around the town, go around the country. People are going about. I mean, we cannot take away the fact that even the crimes that you talk about, even the crimes that you talk about, there are security challenges there. Maybe worse than what you have here.
No.
Yes, maybe worse than what you have here.
I'm going to invite you to come down, so that you just I will invite you because I will invite you so that you enjoy what I'm enjoying. But let me tell you this. My senior daughter is in the university there. It's a university. I don't pay anything. I don't have my children. That's probably the idea, right? Do you know why I'm not happy? We have the capacity to do this. Yes. That is why I'm not happy. Okay. We have the capacity to do this. You understand when I say threat to life? I'm not saying that they put gun in your head and you are the social injustice, the inequalities. Yes. It's causing so much problem. And that is why we have insecurity here and there. There is no substantial justice as well. You understand what I'm saying now? Okay. In a country where you also have substantial justice, where there are no legal aids for the poor. Yes. If you trample on my right now, I don't even have money to go to a lawyer like my guy here. How do I enforce my right? I don't have a legal aids that will say, okay, we have lawyers who will fight your case for you. whether you have money, because there is a way to become a president. It's not, I am telling you about citizen-focused government. We don't have citizen government here. We don't have citizen. All right. Let me proceed. When you talk about the welfare of the people, I just analyze it so that you understand what you are supposed to be benefiting as a citizen of this country. We are not benefiting anything.
All right, let me push it there. Another very thorny issue still on this defection is the budget for the 2019 election. Of course, appeals are being made to the National Assembly to reconvene so that that budget matter can be looked into. But I also saw something quite interesting, which is the fact that the presidency is seeking for, INEC is seeking for about 240-something billion naira to conduct the 2019 election, and the presidency wants to get that money through environment. Environment means that in the budget that is already existing, you pull out funds from other sectors just to be able to tackle the election. And there is concern, or there are concerns that the conduct of the 2019 election is threatened by the National Assembly's not convening yet to meet and perhaps make those funds available. Christian, you want to build on that foundation that I just laid?
Well, anytime I hear national, this particular 8th assembly, I am completely abnormal, because I've never seen normality from that section. Because when I mean normality, a section that will understand why they were elected in the first place, you know, when my brothers here is just saying the Senate, I mean the National Assembly is different from the executive. The executive implement policy. I think we must go and look at the definition of governance. In Nigeria, you cannot separate federal government, you cannot separate the executive from the judiciary, from the National Assembly. They work together, and it is the money that the National Assembly appropriate that the executive can use to do whatever he wants to do. You cannot tell me that what the budget that was supposed to start months ago, that we even, like I said, some NBA budget hasn't even been passed, and the 2018 is ending. So where will the connection of using that money come in place? And you will not be blaming the executive for not doing the job. Now the INEC requested for 200-something billion, and I thank God that the president did not tell them I will not submit the budget, because they are independent. The president does not have any legal rights to discuss anything concerning their proposal. So it is the National Assembly that have the right to reduce, to cut, or approve. And they only have the power of oversight. If you feel that the money is too much, at least approve half, or if you approve all, do monitoring how the money is utilized. Okay. So in all of this, if this National Assembly have the interest of Nigeria at heart, they will recover immediately and pass that one and go back to recess. But at the end of the day, whether they are joined for 6 months, their salary is intact, their wardrobe allowance is intact, their feeding, everything is intact. So at the end of the day, those money is at the expense of me and you, whose, if they have approved the budget that will tap my streets or provide the certain services in my community, would have enjoyed their past the budget. But whether they like it or not, and I'm a very realistic and positive, hopeful person, and I don't see this country as a dangerous place to live in. I was born here, my parents was born here, I never had the privilege of sharing from the golden spoon, and I just met a cripple the other day. He always made my shoe. I told him yesterday, I've been waiting for you. He said he went to his site. I said, site? He said he's building his structure. A cripple, a shoemaker, cobbler. So and I took my 2 hands and shook him. I said, you are blessed. Now there are many Nigerians that see this country great, and I believe that this country is a conducive place to live in, and by the time we build it, it will be good for all of us, and other people that are abroad will come and see the goodness of the country, and most of them will take flight ticket to relocate back to this country.
Some are already doing that.
I met a young mother. I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
She pulled her 3 children away from London. I was like, why? He said, when she go through the system of the education, she vowed that her children cannot go to school there. That he prefer their children to go to school in Nigeria.
All right.
So it's in Nigeria.
So this is subjective. That's the point.
So it's subjective.
By the complaints about the Senate not reconvening and how it will affect the 2019 election conduct by way of funds being available. What's your take on it?
We should not be deceived by the shenanigans that the ruling government is all about, because the Senate, it was always known that the Senate will go on recess in July. It was always known. It was always there. Okay. So why is it that it is now that they are on recess that you are trying to force them back to consider the INEC budget? What has INEC been doing before now? Why now? We all know what they plan to do. They want to force them so they can force Saraki and remove him as Senate president, remove Ekwere Madu. They never supported Saraki. They fought him all through. I was here in this same studio, in the old studio. And I told Evans was the anchor that day. And I analyzed, the Saraki situation at the Code of Conduct Tribunal to him. It was the same thing that the Supreme Court ended up in saying. They fought him all through his term. And even more ridiculously, they said it was part and parcel of a robbery gang. Come on. I mean, there's an extent to which you can play politics. You don't play politics with things like that. The Senate is going to reconvene on the 25th of September. Would they consider, will it be too late at that time to consider the INEC budget?
Yes.
And to even, no, it will not be too late. Now, to even look critically at the INEC budget. In 2015, the INEC budget was 80-something million.
80-something billion.
80-something billion,
yeah.
Sorry. 2019, their budget is now 240-something billion, almost 300 billion. What changed? What is happening? What will they use all of that money for? Many people have raised concern about that. And of course, we've had those kind of outlandish budgets for various MDAs and government institutions in this current government. The other time we're talking about missing 20 or 25 billion from the APC. In this government, so a lot are happening that we need to really look critically at. And of course, we might never know if this government remains in power unless they leave and that government comes that will not expose the various looting that is going on or in the name of governance. So we must look at that critically. Okay. But I support the fact that, of course, wait for the Senate to reconvene. And when they reconvene, they will consider the INEC budget. It will not take so much. It is not, even when they want to pass budget, they can pass budget in a matter of weeks. There is the full appropriation bill. Talk less of this one that is just a session, a part of the general budget.
Okay, yes.
Yes. I mean, when I talk about danger or dangerous, I don't know, but it's about the inequalities that exist in the nation and the deprivation of social benefits for the citizens. And those deprivations are a threat to the existence of citizens. The standard of livelihood here is very, very poor. And that is why, and that is dangerous, because people are dying every day. There are insecurity issues across the nation. People are dying every day, and that makes it a dangerous place. Look at our average lifespan in this country. It has come down to about 55. You understand, compared to many countries in the world. If you look at the rate of migration, if you look at the rate of migration from here to advanced countries, you cannot even compare it with the number of people that are coming home.
I'll come back to you so that we conclude the discussion. Okay. I'll be back with you guys so we'll conclude the discussion.
TMI, every opinion counts.
On the concluding lap of our discussion on APC PDP defections, the supremacy battle at the National Assembly. Wow, 25th of September somehow is the D-Day where we'll know who is who in the National Assembly. But we had Pastor Lile on the ground talking.
Basically, I want to advise the National Assembly because we are talking about national interest now. And let us go back. Let us recall what happened to the President of Senate and the Deputy. The Gestapo action of the federal government against them. They were almost locked up in their houses, and because they were trying to do what you call a clandestine way of removing the leadership of the National Assembly. You see, and that is what led to all these problems and issues. But I want to say that we are looking at national interest now. We know that September is not too far. Honestly, it's not too far. But if it has become so important or so necessary, because the federal government themselves are appealing to them to, so I will advise that they reconvene and pass that particular request and go back to recess if they want to. So that is my position on that. We're looking at national interest. National interest should supersede every other interest, or even every other disagreement that they have. I know that they have serious disagreements with the executive arm of government, and most of them are political disagreements that have nothing to do with national interest. So these are some of the issues. But however, I want to say that we should begin to look at individual characters, whether they move from one party to another. That is my concluding statement. Whether they move from one party to another, we know our people, we know their history, we know those that we have elected before, those we have given power before, we know them. The political class is not a big class. We know ourselves. I know a lot of politicians across the state. They know me very well as well. So let us look at the individual characters. You see, I've said it before, that all these politicians who have disappointed their people, many of them they run into these big parties to hide, so that by the time they bribe the leaders, they give them tickets, they come out again. They always think that with the big parties, they can win election. So those are the things the electorate must be careful.
I just wanted to bring that in to buttress the point that recently we saw an appeal court in Abuja saying the Senate was okay to reorder the election because that's within their constitutional powers to do. Christian, you want to add something to that?
What I want to add is that whether you reorder the election or not, has it changed the players?
No.
Have they decided to, if you reorder the players, will they decide to stop taking that which belongs to all of us? Those are the fundamental questions that we need to ask them. Whether you reorder it or not, they will still remain what they are. But the emphasis should be the collective interest of Nigerians should be paramount.
Absolutely.
And some of those things that we see on media, like the sage you talk on the Saraki house, it was on social media. No television showed it till today.
We showed it.
That
we showed that document. Channel showed it. And the other station showed it. Yeah.
National newspaper.
Yes.
That the soldiers, the police,
the security agencies.
And I said, when you say
and then
hold
on, because we're on public television. Even the Senate president also alleged that while the plenary was going on, that the house of the deputy Senate president was under siege. And so it was
only the deputy Senate president that the police confirmed. That the police said that of the Senate, they never did it because Senate have.
They said they will investigate.
No, Senate. The police are coming with them. They said the Senate is they have a team of security. It mentioned about 40 team of security that guide that is allotted to the Senate president.
Okay.
So when you see
this was probably held in
when you see those convoy around the south and you come to media that is saying he was kept there, and they say Senate, if he was kept there, he has been moving around since. But all those ones are just the politics, and they are the tactics to deceive us, like I always say. But the point is, Nigerians are wiser now. You see, 2019, sir, we come and we be the freest and most peaceful elections in the history of Nigeria. Like I said,
let me get
I believe that things will work.
Let me get a final word from Barrister Daniel Ubegia to call it to wrap now.
Yes, sir. Quite honestly, if I have to, I'm impressed. You know, if I want to join a political party, I'm not sure I'll be able to sell myself this much the way Mr. Osagale has been selling himself to the APC. I'm quite impressed. But having said that, the Senate, the Court of Appeal, has heard that the Senate had the power to do their constitutional duty, to amend the law, talking about reordering of election. Of course, the Supreme Court also heard that Saraki did not have any case to answer at the Court of Tribunal. That is also there. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. That's the beauty of separation of power and the sanctity of the rule of law. So my appeal to politicians and to the current managers of our political system is that the country is much more important than them, and the people are much more important than them. They should focus on keeping the sanctity of this country intact, because they themselves were opposition just in 2015 here.
They might be after next year.
And they might be after next year. So they should allow the political space liberality so that people can express, can freely ventilate their opinions, can freely express themselves in the political space. Of course, people have decamped, more will still decamp. I hear that even the Speaker of the House of Rep will likely decamp this week, and even some other governors, commissioners in Ondo State. There are reasons for this. There might be genuine reasons, there might not be genuine reasons. Even in Ondo State, if you care to know, there's going to be a tsunami here. Because there is an aspect of the ruling party in Ondo State that has been completely ignored since after the 2016 election.
Okay, so let's not.
There will also be a tsunami.
Let's wait till that time. Let's wait till that time.
The opposition party.
Let's wait for that time.
That is the beauty of democracy.
Absolutely.
Of plurality of ideas.
Absolutely.
But what I'm saying is that the institutions of conducting election, INEC, the police, and the EFCC should be neutral. As much as possible, be neutral. All right. So as much as possible, carry out their.
This is where we draw the curtains on the program, TMI Monday. We want to thank you for finding the time to be part of the program this beautiful Monday morning. Pastor Lila, many thanks for joining us on the program. Christian Oselial, it's always a delight to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
And I truly appreciate the fact that you've been very consistent in your views, perspectives. That's what politics is about. But then it will begin. Many thanks for coming on the program. Well, that's our show for today. Bye for now.